What's up, guys? It's your boy, Barca Boy 103, and welcome to another reaction video. Today we're going to be reacting to Informed Football's video onto why Lamine Yamal deserves to win the Ballon d'Or. Of course, on top of this, I'll give you guys my insights on someone who's watched every single second of Lamine Yamal's career at Barcelona and give you the perspective of how Barcelona were this season and also upon the other contenders as well. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Of course, if you do enjoy these videos, make sure you smash the likes down below and subscribe to my channel as well if you haven't already, and let's jump right into it.
In football, there are players who impress, players who dominate, and then there are players who electrify. Lamine Yamal, at just 17 years old, has already done all three. Not with sheer numbers or with only silverware, but with moments, fragments of brilliance that stick in the memory that make crowds rise to their feet.
He also does have numbers and silverware as well.
He's not a player for the future. He's the youngest ever La Liga starter for Barcelona, the youngest goal scorer in Spanish national team history, and perhaps the youngest player ever to carry the hopes of Barcelona fans in bringing the club back to its former glory. And now some believe he deserves football's...
I wouldn't say he's our sole hope, because La Masia is just so extraordinary that you never know who else is going to come, either accompany Yamal or, God forbid, take over Lamine Yamal. But definitely, you know, a fresh breath there. We had the same feeling, of course, with Ansu Fati a few years ago as well. So we're kind of used to this kind of thing. It's just really about down to his explosion, his ability to stay fit, and also to control himself under the pressure as well.
Ultimate individual honor, the Ballon d'Or. But does he truly deserve it now, or is it just the euphoria of a new football icon? Lamine Yamal's season has been nothing short of extraordinary, not merely because of his age, but because of the sheer scope of his achievements. Over 4,000 minutes played in competitive football, key contributions across La Liga, domestic cups, and the Champions League. He has delivered not just moments of quality, but sustained excellence over a season most players only dream of. His performance...
And let's not forget as well that what Lamine did in his first season at Barcelona as well cannot be ignored. I think he had 7 GA the whole season, only really got to the team in the second half of the season as, you know, an actual starter, following the drop of form of, you know, the likes of João Felix, Rafinha, Dembele leaving, Abdi and Ansu leaving on the deadline day as well. So he didn't get into the team for quite some time. But you look at that Lamine Yamal into what we have seen now, the jump is like a plus 10,000%. Even the Lamine Yamal from the Barcelona end of the season to Spain of the Euros. Like, you have to forget, you cannot forget that he ranked 8th in the Ballon d'Or last season. I don't know if this video will discuss that or not, but him ranking 8th in a season where he basically started halfway through is extraordinary, which shows how, you know, emphatic he was in that last few months of the season for Barcelona, and also mainly as well for Spain at the Euros.
The two legs of the Champions League semi-final against Inter Milan was a defining moment. Against one of Europe's most tactically disciplined sides, Yamal was unstoppable, weaving through defenses, creating chances, and showcasing maturity far beyond his age. He was the standout player on the pitch, a teenager playing as though he had been there for years. Yet, it ended in heartbreak as Barcelona failed to advance to the final, denying him a chance to cap his season with Europe's ultimate prize. It is these late season stages where legends are often made. The Ballon d'Or has a habit of rewarding not just brilliance, but brilliance at the right time. In the footballing...
Unfortunately, he's kind of lost that touch. I think not only the importance of the Champions League, but since the Ronaldo-Messi debate in a lot of people's eyes, unfortunately, at the beginning was so tight, you needed, you know, trophies to really decide who would take it. Of course, after, you know, the debate went on, Messi clearly dominated it, especially post 2011, I would say, maybe 2008 and 9. There was a bit of a competition there, but we're seeing now that it's just mainly down to trophy. Whoever's the best player on the team that wins the most trophy usually wins it. We saw Jorginho, of course, a few years ago get second place in the Ballon d'Or. Thank God for, you know, Messi saving that one. That would have been absolutely extraordinary. But it really comes down to a lot of things now that it used to be just who the best player in the world is. Now it's who the best player in the world is, but who got the most GAs, who got the, you know, the most trophies. All these things have kind of, you know, ruined it a little bit. I mean, if we're giving the Ballon d'Or for the best player in the world each year, it would have gone to Messi every single time from 2011 probably until 2022 when he maybe went to PSG. Even then, I think in his first year at PSG, he was still one of, if not the best. But again, people just don't like that. The people don't like that narrative when you say it. That's why I think it lost a ton of its touch in terms of, you know, the valuability of it.
People are taken by the moment. They remember not only what was done, but also when it was done. We've already seen this cycle repeat. Earlier in the season, it was Mohamed Salah who seemed destined for the prize, delivering week after week for Liverpool. Then, for a
To be fair with Mo, is that Liverpool were trajected to do so well. You know, they were number one favorites in the Champions League. They were favorites in the Premier League. So those two trophies together were huge. Then all they had to do was just win one of two cups and they win a treble. So that's why there was a lot of hype with Mo at the beginning, bagging goals, getting assists, playing so well. But also Liverpool being huge favorites for the top two prizes that they were competing for as well.
it was Rafinha who caught fire for Barcelona.
This is why Rafinha was second, because we weren't the favorites in neither La Liga or the Champions League. The Champions League was Liverpool, and then La Liga it was Real Madrid. That's why Rafinha's hype didn't really get too much into it until Liverpool really dropped out of the Champions League and until Barcelona really started, taking over Spanish dominance.
Matched by an outpouring of fan enthusiasm. Pedri too drew Ballon d'Or buzz for the elegance and control he brought to midfield. Now in the closing chapters of the season, it is Ousmane Dembélé who has become the name on everyone's lips, delivering decisive performances for PSG, most notably in the knockout stages of the Champions League. With Paris Saint-Germain crowned champions of Europe, the spotlight now turns to him. If he carries this form into the Club World Cup and leads PSG to yet another title, his Ballon d'Or credentials will only grow stronger.
I don't think Dembélé needs to win the Club World Cup to win the Ballon d'Or. I think Lamine Yamal and Spain needed to win the Nations League, and they didn't. So I don't think Dembélé winning the Club World Cup or not winning it will dictate him being the favorite to win it this year. Of course, Club World Cup would definitely solidify it. It would definitely basically all but guarantee it. Right now, maybe it's a bit in limbo with him still being the favorite, but like the video mentions, I don't think he has to win it to win the Ballon d'Or. I think there's definitely a huge chance that he wins it even without PSG winning the Club World Cup. Maybe if they get humiliated, or maybe they get knocked out of the group stage and stuff like that, maybe that narrative can help Lamine Yamal's case a little bit. But with that being unlikely, I don't think they'll have too much of an impact.
This challenge Yamal faces, as we've seen last season with Vinicius, after an incredible campaign crowned by a Champions League final trophy. He was the obvious choice. His goal against Dortmund felt decisive, symbolic, and impossible to ignore. The narrative seemed set in stone, but it wasn't. Spain would go on to lift the Euros, and Rodri, steady, exceptional, unglamorous, emerged from the shadows of June to claim the golden prize in October, not because he had dazzled more often.
But don't forget as well that City had a pretty good season. They won the Premier League. I want to say knocked out the semifinals of the Champions League, maybe the quarterfinals to Madrid. I think it was quarterfinals because they had Bayern Munich in the semi, then of course Dortmund in the final. So they still went quite far in the Champions League. They had a great season domestically as well. I know they just won the Premier League, but they got to the FA Cup final and all that, I believe. So they still had a pretty good season overall, on top of him being, of course, the best player during the Euros, and Spain, who were not the favorites whatsoever going into the tournament as well.
He done so more recently, and because his understated brilliance had underpinned Manchester City's success in the Premier League. His consistency, control, and quiet authority served as the structural backbone of a title-winning team. There's also another element worth considering. Barcelona's success this season has produced not just one Ballon d'Or worthy figure, but several. As mentioned earlier in the video, players like Rafinha and Pedri have each had moments this season where they appeared to be Barcelona's most essential player. Lamine Yamal may be the brightest star, yet Rafinha delivered a flurry of decisive goals and match-winning performances at crucial points of the season. Alongside him, Pedri's midfield control and intelligent orchestration often tilted games in Barcelona's favour. This could lead to a split in the votes, making it difficult for any one of them to stand out as the definitive choice. When greatness is distributed across a collective, public perception and media narratives often struggle to pick a singular figurehead, just as it happened.
That's a great point. I think another point he forgot to mention there as well, that one of the reasons why Vinicius lost the Ballon d'Or last season was not because of his poor attitude on the pitch, not because Rodri had an exceptional campaign with Spain, but also a lot of his Madrid teammates took votes off him. Jude Bellingham, Dani Carvajal, after him winning the Euros as well, took a lot of votes. Even I think the likes of Rodrigo and Valverde, all these kind of players, all attracted votes from that great season from Madrid. So which is the same thing that Barcelona are suffering through, but I think the perspective and the dynamic has changed quite considerably as of late.
At Madrid last season, where the attention was divided between Vinicius Jr.,
Jude
Bellingham, and even Dani Carvajal, resulting in the Ballon d'Or vote being split among them. Unlike the Messi and Ronaldo era, where each was the undisputed centerpiece of their team, and deservedly so, given their GOAT-level performances, the modern game presents a more nuanced landscape. In Barcelona's case, Yamal may shine brighter than most, but the lights around him, Rafinha and Pedri, have shone brightly too.
I would say they shone brightly in like moments, whereas Lamine has been throughout duration. I remember doing a video for my exclusive content on Goals TV where I said, back in the beginning of April, that if I were to give the Ballon d'Or to somebody right now of those three players, because these three were like the front, where they were the top three at the time, I said Lamine Yamal. I think at the time Rafinha was first, and I still said Lamine Yamal. So I think Barca fans, I'd say a majority of them would say Lamine probably since March/April, and definitely, of course, towards the end of the season, everyone's saying Lamine now because they've seen how important it was and how, like you mentioned in the video, being decisive in key moments near the end. You always remember that, and that's probably why Lamine's getting a lot of hype as well for his age as well, for his impact on the pitch. It's not taken away from either Rafa or Pedri. They both had Ballon d'Or-esque campaigns, but the Lamine ones always be remembered for those moments, the decisiveness. And of course, these two, Rafa and Pedri, their levels did drop a little bit in that last 2 months of the season as well. That was quite evident for someone as myself who watched Barcelona every single second, week in, week out. You can see it as well, whereas Lamine was just bang, 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 pure consistency.
Despite everything we've discussed, the momentum of late-season triumphs, recency bias, and the undeniable quality of rival contenders, Lamine Yamal can genuinely win the Ballon d'Or, not as a reward for future potential, but as a recognition of current excellence. Whether this is the right moment may still be a question for some, but what he has done this season leaves little room for doubt. He has carried a team in flux, lit up the Champions League with a performance of rare maturity, and helped deliver a domestic treble. And when his national team needed him, he stepped up, not as a prodigy, but as a protagonist, as he recently showed in the Nations League. Yes, some might argue about stats, about goals and assists, but football doesn't always reward just numbers. Many have.
Despite that as well, having 40, again, like I said to you at the beginning of the video, he had 7 goals and assists last season. I think that was accumulated like 3 goals and like 4 assists, something like that. He's gone from 7 GA last season to 43. That is like an increase of what, 500-600%? Like, that is astonishing. This is because he has people want to highlight his 9 goals only in La Liga, but what about his goals in the Champions League, his goals in the Copa del Rey, his goals in the Spanish Super Cup that apparently now means absolutely nothing, and all those goals being key goals. Of the 21 goals he scored this past season, I guarantee you 15 of those are in big moments, decisiveness, where we needed a goal, we were desperate for in a big moment, and he came up and he shined the most.
On the Ballon d'Or not for volume, but for value, for their implication, their elegance, the intangible things they bring to the game, joy, wonder, and entertainment. Lamine Yamal brings all of that, often in a single touch. Of course, the other contenders we've mentioned deserve recognition too. Each has built a compelling narrative, but if the Ballon d'Or truly recognizes the very best of the season, not simply the player who finished strongest, but the one whose brilliance endured longest, then Lamine Yamal is the worthy winner. Because what he has achieved, consistently, at just 17, is beyond remarkable. It is historic. But that's our opinion. What about yours? Do you think Lamine Yamal deserves to win the Ballon d'Or this season? Let us know.
I mean, we could end it off here. I mean, I think he ended the video perfectly there, saying that, based on who the best player in the world is, it is Lamine. Yes, Rafa, Pedri, Dembuz, Salah, Vitinha, Kvaratskhelia, Kvaratskhelia, Lewandowski, Nuno Mendes, Mo Salah, whoever you want to mention, they all had their moments, they all had exceptional seasons. But what Lamine has done for a team like Barcelona against the opponents he come up week in, week out, being triple teamed in every single game, and still producing in the big moments in every single game this season, it's second to none. The consistency, not only that, when he does not drop a goal and assist, he still plays well, and he's just the most important player for one of, if not the best team in the world, and doing it for Barcelona as well. You can even take away the age. Even if he was 26, I'd still be saying the same thing. And like you mentioned, Rafinha and Pedri and all these other players I already mentioned all had, Ballon d'Or level seasons for sure. Not taken away from it, but Lamine Yamal is an extra step, an extra level above that for what he did in the way that he did it as well. But of course, in the comments down below, let me know your thoughts. Do you think that Lamine Yamal will win the Ballon d'Or? Do you think he should deserve it? And who would you say does deserve it if Lamine Yamal does not receive the award? Leave me all your thoughts down in the comments below. And of course, make sure you guys subscribe down below as well if you haven't already. And I'll see you guys next time on the channel. Take care and Forza Barca.